everyone, Artie Tambarambaa, also known as Tammy Porter. We're going to create a gorgeous little scene together. So I used the Quotylicious quotes from Art by Marlene. I've used the markers. I've used the new cut and paste collage book. I've used that sunshiny stamp, that birdhouse stamp, an oldie but a goodie stencil, then the Lotsa dot stencil, and that window stencil and that other stencil as well. I have listed them all, I'm sorry. I've listed all the codes so you can see them. Of course, I've used the sticky glue and lots of paint colours to build my scene. So I've got happy, cheesy, funky and peony and ballet. And then in the greens, I've got Kermit, Glow, Envy and Forest. And I even use a couple of browns. So I use Mud Fight and Tobacco. Now relax everyone there for the tree trunk. I've used a couple of her brushes, the flat ones and the watercolour ones, and the new awesome A4 journal. Okay, so let's get started. As I said, you can find all the products that I've listed, that I've used in the description. And I start by knowing that I want to build some sort of scene. I do these every now and then. They're a bit of a longer art journal play, so I have sped this one up a little bit. But they're lots of fun and they're a good way to get lost in the process. And yeah, so I began by finding these three little houses, so they can be sitting up on the hill. So I did fast forward or cut out the fussy cutting of those. And I've just kind of drawn a little hill to put them on. And then I dig out some flowers. So I find in the cut and paste book, same place I got the houses, these little flowers. And I really like those purpley orangey ones. They're speaking to me. So I found all of them in the book and cut those all out. And I'm just flipping through what else I can use. And then I spy this little fairy. You can see this book, although it's new, it's very well used already. So I grabbed the little fairy as well. And I just fussy cut them all out. I'm pretty sure I skipped this bit for you because you don't need to watch me do this. Yep, there we go. Fast forward. So I've got all my bits cut out and I've kind of sketched in a little bit of I sketched in two hills and a little pathway. So that's all I'd sort of done with lead pencil. And I just come in with my brown. So I mixed the two browns together and did the little path. And then I decide that I need a little tree. Now, I'm not too worried about what this tree looks like at this stage because I'll come back in and do lots of work. This is really just to get my placement, thinking, you know, where I want things to be. And I thought I'd do another tree behind those houses, but I end up covering that up. So, yeah, it's just a way to mark out where you want things so that I can continue to paint in areas. So I decided to paint in the two hills and I want them to be a little bit different to each other. So this one has a bit more of the dark greens with a touch of Kermit in it. And then when I do the other side, I think I use Kermit and Glow, which is some lighter greens. And then I kind of just mix it in with the little bit of leftover paint that I used for the other hill. So nothing complicated, just get the paint down and blend it together. I'm going to come in and add stenciling on this, so you don't have to be, you know, perfect with your painting at this point. So I dry it all off, and then it's time to sort of start working out the sky and where I want things in the sky. So I knew I wanted sort of a sunset or a sunrise kind of theme with, instead of a blue sky, I thought I'd go with pinks and yellows. So I started with happy in the centre, the lighter of the yellows, and then that cheesy's that bit deeper golden yellow, and I've gone around the edge of that circle, and then I've gone back in with happy just to blend it through. And then with my leftover yellow that's on my palette, I add some pinks, so I added some peony, some funky, and a touch of ballet, and I'm just using a bit of water to wash that through, and it gives that kind of illusion of a bit of a sunrise or a sunset. And if you get any over the top of the areas you've painted, you know, like some went over the circle, they can just wipe off with a damp wipe, so easy. Now just working out which way I want the houses to go, and because the hills were green, I decided to put the green one towards the back, just so you get a bit more contrast. So now I dig around in my stencils, and I love this. This is an oldie that Marlene's brought back. It was from the Sophisticated range, and I love it. It's like sea anemones, I think, but I always see beautiful blooms and flowers. So I do a bit of reductive stenciling here. I pop a bit of Funky, which is the neon pink, onto the page, and then wipe it off through the stencil, and you just get a little bit of that interest and mark making left over. Now this time I'm adding some pattern to my hills, so I use the Lotsa dot stencils, and on the light green hill I use dark green paint just to sponge through. So I'm using the artist sponge, and I'm just sponging through a darker green. Now I grab that window stencil, and I see little bricks and paving stones on that stencil, so I add a few with slightly lighter brown to my path to hopefully look like stepping stones. And then I think, what am I going to do for this other hill? And I started by doing the sponging technique, and I didn't like it, so I decided to use the same stencil, that one with all the 3 different patterns on it, and I'm doing the reductive. So I'm placing some lighter green. I think I've got Kermit I'm placing down, and then I'm pulling some up. So it just leaves patterns in a few areas. It doesn't have to be all over. We want it to look a bit painterly. We don't want it to sort of be too perfect. So now I grab out that sun, that gorgeous sun from that stamp set with the glasses. Oh, so cute. It's got such a happy face. And I did a practice stamp first, just because I hadn't used this stamp before, and it was stamping perfectly as they usually do. And then I stamped it straight onto my yellow area. And I'm not fussed that my circle's bigger. I don't think any of that matters. And now I think, okay, let's put some, decide where I want things, and I start gluing them down using the sticky glue. And that little fairy there, she's going to sort of be dancing amongst the flowers, is what I have decided to do with her. Now, I must apologise for my lighting again. We're in winter here in Clare, and days are a lot shorter, and my opportunity to film is quite early in the morning. And if I have commitments, which I do with family and work, I often have to do it later in the day, and I sort of get this shadowing that's coming over. So I'm sorry about that. I hope it's not too distracting for you as it flickers through. I think because I've sped it up a little bit, it's a little bit more obvious, but hopefully that's okay. Okay, so now I've stuck down all my bits and pieces. It's time to do some leaf work on the trees. So I begin with darker green, so I've mixed Forest and Envy together, and I'm just simply doing some brush. I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm just doing lots and lots of little brush work. And then once that's down, I come over the top of it in the lighter colours, so Kermit over the top, and you'll begin to see that this starts to add that depth that looks, more natural. I guess we want it to look a bit whimsy, but we want to be able to tell that that's a tree. And then I come in with my markers. Now, Marlene's markers are awesome, and I use them often for the finishing off and the detailing parts. And you can see here, I started with a darker green, and I'm just kind of adding a little bit of shadowing underneath the houses. And then with the lighter green on the darker hill, I'm outlining it and just rubbing a bit and blending it with my finger. And it just gives a really nice effect. And I'm doing the same with the browns on the pavers, and hopefully you can see how that sort of pops it and brings it to life just by blending it a little bit. And I'm adding a little bit of black and blending it as well with my finger, just to create that illusion of depth. So the pens are awesome for that detail work, but don't forget you can just do lines, but you can use blending as well. And another thing that they look really good with is merging the two, like there's a dark and a light on each pen and putting the two together and then painting it with water and letting them blend. That's something I do all the time as well. So I've added a few more leaves in as I started doing some highlights in the trees. I added a few more. So you'll see them pop up. And I also decided to add some extra to her hair because the way I'd cut her hair out wasn't awesome. So I add a little bit of ballet to her hair just to, extend it out a little bit and look more natural. And then I start adding leaves and stems to my flowers. And then I remember that one of the stamp sets that Marlene's just brought out has a birdhouse on it and birds, but it also has little flowers and a little mushroom at the base of the tree. And so I just used that section. You can see I've stamped it in a couple of areas. Now, it hasn't stamped perfectly because I haven't used it on a block, and I'm trying hard not to let the tree get stamped as well. But it doesn't matter because it's really just giving me that placement, and I will come back over with pen and fix up any area that didn't come out properly. So I like the little woodland kind of feel that it gives. So I'm start to colour in my little toadstools and the little flowers. So I'm using some blues and some pinks, and I'm just using the markers to do this. And this bit I go on and on with forever. So I might just go a bit quiet and let you watch this bit. I'm just sort of highlighting, and I start with darker colour and then I come in with lighter on top, and sometimes I do a few coats. And I actually start to use highlights as well with the white pen, which makes a difference. And so I'll just let you watch. Okay, you may have noticed that as well as doing lots of highlighting and outlining, I've actually been doing some shadowing as well with a Stabilo All Pencil and just activating it with water. And hopefully you can see how just spending time on this bit really adds that depth and definition to the piece and makes it much more interesting to look into. I've also decided to add quite a few more flowers, and here I am using the darker purple with the lighter purple pen on top and then blending it with water, and it gives a beautiful purple that, I think the dark purple was too dark and the light purple was too light, so it gives that mid purple that I was looking for. So yeah, I'm really happy with the little fairy and the flowers and the little toadstools. I keep going over those toadstools. I think I'd do another layer because I just feel like the red doesn't pop enough. So yeah, this is the part that can take forever, but I find it really enjoyable and, you know, blocks everything out, and I'm just lost in the piece rather than thinking about all the other things that I perhaps should be doing. A nice way to get away from adulting. So while we're watching the final bits here, I just want to take the time to say how grateful I am for you all. This is a lovely little community. Like everybody, the comments you leave me are always so positive, and you know, YouTube, social media, it gets a bad rap at times, but it can be used for good, and bringing us all together from all around the world who love colour and spending a bit of time with me in my art room is really nice, and knowing that you were here. So it always helps me when you like and comment, because I know then I start to get to know people, and I also know that you stop by, because I often wonder, because I'm sitting here on my own talking to myself, and it's nice to know that there are people out there. So also by liking and commenting and subscribing, it helps other people find me. So I appreciate all of you, and I'm really proud of this little space that yeah, is safe and happy and brings joy to my little world. Okay, so I think I've finished with all the fluffing finally, and then I find a little quote, and this one says, "Shine your light for all the world to see," and it's from the gorgeous little new Quotylicious pack of Marlene's. So you see, I haven't finished fluffing. It's very hard. Sometimes I have to tell myself to walk away when creating pages like this. But I do outline the glasses on the sun, and then I think, oh, the little fairy needs glasses too. So if you've stuck with me this far, well done. It's been a bit of a long one, this one. But yeah, these are really fun pages, and wishing you a colourful week, and I hope that you get some art time, and thanks for being here for mine. I'll leave you with the close-ups, and so you can see some of the stenciling and some of the details. And I will be back again soon to share more arty goodness with you. Bye.